Good afternoon, Internet. Eric Arnold here in the Sports Barn. It is Tuesday, April 7th, around 3:30 in the afternoon it appears. Is that right? I guess it is. Huh. Alright, well, I was just thinking, oh wow, my day's getting moved up here. At any rate, important episode here. I am going to attempt to explain to you in a 15-minute video or less, 15 or less subscriber X with your short attention span. Seriously, subscriber X. I mean, what else do you have to do, really? At any rate, 15 minutes or less, I'm going to try to explain to you why the government's program of lockdown, and lockdown some more is not the appropriate thing we should be doing here with this virus. It is my position that we should open up the economy and go back to the way we were doing things, you know, like the last 200 years, and we should do it tomorrow. At any rate, so let me get right into it and try to explain to you where my line of thinking is coming from. And you can put in the comments, if you like, why I'm wrong. You know, why this would not work, how callous and insensitive I am, whatever. That's fine. But I just think this is a point of view that is not being represented very well right now, certainly in the halls of government, mostly in the halls of the media. So here it is. Now this data is taken straight from the state of New York. Kudos to these guys, the state of New York. They have published good data as to the cases they're treating, the people being hospitalized, the people dead. And you can't make educated decisions about this stuff unless you have the data. So New York has made the data public. I note the state of Pennsylvania, for the most part, is not making the deaths public, which makes the whole exercise pointless to try to determine what's a smart public policy. So kudos to New York. Here, let's get right into it. This column is age group, 0 to 9 years old, 10 to 19, etc., all the way down to 90 years and up. Excuse me. These are the number of deaths that New York has had in each age group. This data is current as of April 6th. I guess they update this data, it seems like, once or twice a day. Apparently this is yesterday's data. You got to take a snapshot in time. So we took what was on the website as of, an hour ago. So these are the number of deaths in each age group, and this is the percentage of the whole. I didn't write that down, son of a... Wait, yes I did, okay. The whole should be... Okay, 5,486. They actually had 5,489. They had 3 deaths that they don't know what age people were. I just took those out of there, you know, so let's just focus on a set of data of deaths for which we know the age of the decedent. So 5,486, this is the percentage for each age group. Now, using our simple math skills, we can see that here, this is the AARP line, 50 and up. That makes up 93% of the deaths in New York have occurred in the AARP group, as I like to call it, because I was so excited when I crossed over 50, and now I can get 15% off at Denny's, because I'm now 50, well, at the time, I got it well before I turned 50, because my wife was already above 50, so they kick it to the spouses, your 15% discount at Denny's, 6 months before you turn 50. So I got grandfathered. I was all excited about that. But at any rate, 50 and above, 93% 93% of the deaths. Now, how many people exist in that age group as far as, you know, generally in the whole world? Now, this is the United States data as of 2018. This came from a different website called Statista, something like that. Let's see. Statista. I have no idea if this is accurate. It feels accurate. Basically, what it came up with was around 327 million people in the United States total, and the percentage that are 50 and above, according to this website, 35.3%. So, you can see that a minority of the people are having almost all the deaths. I mean, you can look at this a different way. You can draw your line here at the 60 group. There, you would have, let's see, 60 plus. You would have 82.3% of the deaths. And that adds up to 22.2% of the total population. So, I mean, my conclusion on this is pretty simple. Why are we making everybody stay home and shutting down the economy, which I think is doing incalculable damage to the country, everything, our savings, how we view each other, our attitudes on life in general. I think it's just doing an incredible amount of damage. Why are we shutting it all down when most of the deaths are occurring in 22% of the population? And most of these people aren't working anyway. I know my 90-year-old father doesn't go very many places as it is. But we're locking it all down with no end in sight as far as I can see. There's no end in sight to this. Nobody is talking about, I was wrong about that. I said you're going to start hearing the word end game. I think the end game will be when they actually start using the word end game. Because nobody's using it, no one's even thinking about it. They're just sitting there and watching their little curve and saying, well, we got to flatten the curve, Well, the curve is starting to flatten now. But obviously not fast enough for the powers that be. So we just sit here and wait. And I don't see what the hell for. I really am I'm off team government other than the fact I gotta be on it. They have a figurative gun to my head. Some may argue it's a literal gun. We'll say it's a figurative gun. So I gotta be on team government. But this is not right. We're not doing the correct thing. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me it wouldn't make sense to just tell this age group to stay home and let everybody else go back to work. I don't get that. Someone explain that to me. But these are the facts. This is not made up. This came from the state of New York's reported data on their virus deaths. That is pretty accurate data, I think, as far as age groups go, how many people are in each age group. It is much like everybody has been saying, this illness affects the elderly the most. Those are the ones that are being killed. Certainly, are people dying in the younger age groups? Yes, it is happening. It does happen. Does it happen a lot? No, I would say it does not, statistically speaking. I guess that depends on what your perspective is. You know, your 23-year-old son just got killed by this virus, and yeah, it's happening a lot. If it happens to you, it happened a lot. But on an overall basis, no, it is not. 7% of the deaths are under 50. That's not a lot. So So what happens here? I'm starting to count up the people that are on my side of the argument, just to, see, am I way off here? Am I just, I'm a subversive, I'm over here by myself. I'm starting to think about this, and I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm in the wrong here. I think I'm right. We got Ron Paul, he's on my side of the argument, of course. He's the godfather of libertarian thought. Michael Burry, you may not know who he is. Michael Burry, there was a movie out called The Big Short. Had Steve Carell in it, had Christian Bale. Did I say that right? Doesn't sound right. I don't know, I might have to go back and track that one. He played Batman. That doesn't sound right. It sounds like I'm off there. Well, at any rate, he played Michael Burry. Michael Burry was a hedge fund manager. He has a doctorate and I don't know what. He was just a guy before the housing crisis in the late decade. He was one of the only people that said, hey, the housing market's going to crash. Hey, the housing market's going to crash and I'm going to bet against it and make money. So he did, and they laughed at him. Everybody laughed at this guy. And of course he was right and he made a ton of money. One of my favorite things in that movie is at the end where it says, Michael Burry, after it was all over, went to the government, who was supposed to be regulating this stuff, and said, you want to know how I knew that this was all going to go to hell and no one else did? Well, no one would return his call, but they did audit him 4 times. So, yeah, that's it. That's my view of government in the T. Tucker Carlson, right-wing guy. Look, I'm not going to just put up right-wing guys here. If, Rachel Maddow comes out tomorrow and says, I think we should put everybody back to work, I'll put her name up there. It's just my view that the left-wingers are not going to say that. But I'm certainly willing to hear what they have to say. And then Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger wrote an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal. Honestly, I thought he was dead. I thought he died like 20 years ago. For those of you who don't know who Henry Kissinger is, Henry Kissinger was a power player back in the 70s. He was, I believe, the Secretary of State to, it was either President Ford or President Nixon, I'm not sure which. He was heavily involved in the negotiations to extract us from the Vietnam War. Kissinger's background is he's German by one of those Central European countries, Austria perhaps. I'm not 100% sure which, but he was born in the 20s and 30s. He'd say he was 96 years old, so that means he would have had been born like 1925 or 6, I think. So at any rate, he left Europe in 1938 because, well, he's Jewish, and you can see what the hell's going on over there. Hitler's taken over. So this is his viewpoint, which was what I brought up a few videos ago, is that when you have a worldwide depression, bad shit tends to happen. And he remembers the bad shit from the 30s. And that was his point, or one of his points in the op-ed, is that you leave this lockdown in place too long, you're begging for bad things to happen. So I'm not unhappy with the list so far as people on my side of the argument. Ultimately it doesn't matter unless we get 65, 70% of the people calling up their congressmen, their governors, their state representatives saying, hey, let me get back to work. Because unless that happens, they're just going to leave it in place. They're just going to leave it in place unless, there widespread riots break out, stuff starts burning down, people start smashing windows at the bank because the ATMs got shut off, that sort of thing. But at any rate, that's my thinking. This is why I'm on Team Open It Up Now, because I don't think it makes sense to shut the whole world down when you can isolate who this affects. For the most part, it is these people, 60 and up. So I don't see why everyone else is paying paying the price. I mean, obviously they're paying a heavy price too, but right now we all are. And I think that if we were back to work also, then perhaps we might be able to help mitigate the damage from these deaths and sicknesses somewhat. A poor country is not able to respond to mass pandemics that well. I think a wealthy nation's more able to respond to it. Right now we're in the process of making ourselves from a wealthy nation into a poor nation. But at any rate, that's my thinking. You got a comment, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, we'll talk again. Maybe we'll talk sports in the next one. That was the whole point of this channel, but as I'm forced to talk about current events because there is no sports. So there you have it. From me to you, Eric Arnold, thanks for being here, and we'll talk again.